with Alan Shearer, Micah Richards, and me, Gary Lineker. It's our question and answer episode. And, there's lots of great questions. And once again, thank you so much for sending them in. We really do appreciate it. Let's get cracking. Greg, he asks, do you think Pep's current Manchester City team will be considered the best top 3 or top 5 in Premier League history? Where would you place his team?
It's tough, isn't it? Because you've got the Chelsea team that conceded ridiculously low goals that season, didn't they, with John Terry?
I think it was at 15 goals, was it? That 15 goals they conceded that season, was it?
Something like that.
You've got the Invincibles.
Yes, of course.
Yep. Obviously, 99 Manchester United, probably, when they did the treble.
I'm going to say, for the way football's being played, this Manchester...
We know what you're going to say! The Man City ambassador!
I think Man City's, the way they've changed the game in playing football with the new positions, with the fullbacks and the centre-back stepping into midfield, are the most complete team. But I think going a season unbeaten takes some doing, and it might not be done ever again. So I've sort of got two answers, but I'd say Arsenal's is probably harder to do.
It depends also if you consider this as the question. It says in Premier League history. So if you're just talking perhaps about a Premier League performance rather than other cups, I don't know. I mean, they're definitely top 3, Manchester City.
Oh, they have to be. I mean, if we revisit this question in 3 or 4 months' time, then if they go on and do what they could do this season, Man City, then I think we'd have a definitive answer.
Yeah, correct. If they win the league again and say back-to-back Champions Leagues, which has never been done by an English club. It was done, I hasten to add, in the European Cup days. Yeah, 1 or 2 clubs did that, Nottingham Forest being one of them. It's a very good question. It's always difficult, isn't it? Ranking teams from one era to the other, because you can run away with it, and even in the Invincibles season, perhaps 1 or 2 of the sides weren't as competitive as.
Hey guys, what were the odds that Micah was going to say Arsenal?
Arsenal, Man City. Can I ask a question of you, Micah?
Oh my God, here we go. Yes, of course you can.
Why are you an ambassador for Manchester City?
What do you mean? Because I show the beautiful, wonderful club Man City in a fantastic light. Yeah. It's not all about the glitz and glamour, Gary. We went there before the takeover.
No, I understand that, but what's in it for you? Is it an ego thing, or is it a few quid, or what is it?
Catching.
No, so basically, when I retired, I didn't know what I was going to do with my career or post-career. And Man City said, would love for you to be involved with us in some capacity, whether that was charity stuff, where it was a trophy tour. So I went to Nigeria, I went to Australia on a trophy tour. I went to Indonesia as well. And for someone who's been there since I was 14, and I know it's always tongue-in-cheek, but I do actually love the club because it was so good to me. And that's what it entails. It is different things like sponsorship things and partners, which you could go and get paid for, but I don't do that stuff because I just don't have the time.
Yeah. Do you not think it's conflict of interest with your job?
Look at Lineker firing the questions at you.
I'm only kidding. It's not politics, Mike. It's not politics. It's only football. You don't have to worry about that. That was just a joke.
You need to go on the other podcast, don't you?
What other podcast?
The rest is politics.
The rest is politics.
Oh, that one. Sorry, I do. No. I've been on that leading one that they do, so which is also worth a listen. And remarkable episode this week, actually, with Scaramucci.
Who's that?
He was kind of he worked with Trump for about I think it was 11 days when he first became president. And it's an amazing interview about Trump and how he is and all that. Anyway, that's a different podcast, of course. But here's one. Alan, how old were you when you had kids?
Wow.
That's not the question, but I'll come to the question in a minute.
Wow.
That's not a nasty question. So were you still playing is my point.
When I had kids,
Yeah.
yeah, I had my first one in 92, so I would have been 22, yeah.
So this question actually applies to you more than me here. So Chris asks, when did your kids realise you were a world-class footballer? Did they take some convincing?
they still haven't realised that I was a half decent player. I mean, I had two girls to begin with, and they loved football and always came to the game. But then my son was born in 2000. He's football nuts, as you know. But he sort of missed probably the best years of me playing.
Did you say to him, honestly, I was better than this? I was better than this when I was younger.
Go and have a look at the videos, son. Go and see how good the old man was. You know, you're talking about all these forwards, and so I don't think they've ever realised that I was. I mean, they were really half decent at football, but they've never seen it that way, which I think is the right way.
Behave! They must have known. They must have come home and seen this absolute mansion and think, my dad must have been fantastic at something.
My eldest two, George and producer Harry here, were very late in my career, so they wouldn't have seen me play ever. Harry was actually born in Japan. We still call him Harry Chan now on occasions, and.
We know where George was made, or was it Harry was made, wasn't it? Ford Fiesta Harry, wasn't it?
Harry the Fiat.
Fiat Harry.
Oh dear, he's laughing in the background. Here's one for you, Alan. This is quite interesting. I can't imagine this is true, but I hope it is. Neil Heilbrong, there is an urban myth at our local golf club that Alan and Rob Lee once hid in the clubhouse kitchen when Ruud Gullit came in looking for them both. Any truth, Alan?
No, there's no truth in it. Honestly, as much as I'd love that to be a true story, I've never heard that story before. No, never heard that story.
Question from Andy Moore: on which side of the argument do you each sit regarding the expansion of the World Cup? Is it detrimental to the competition and diluting the quality, especially in the early stages, or is it a positive move, giving more nations the opportunity to play and potentially cause an upset on the world stage?
Ooh.
Not for me.
Well,
Not for me. Diluting the quality, particularly in the early stages. I get why they want to do it, financial reasons, but when you get the World Cup is the pinnacle, isn't it? It should be the very, very best. There has to be a seeding to get there. I get that, but I think they're diluting the competition for me.
I quite like it, to be honest. If you look at teams like Morocco, what they did in the World Cup, I mean, probably 3 or 4 years, you know, some of their players, and they always seem to do okay as a nation, and have players that in certain leagues that you'd follow.
Well, I think Morocco's a pretty high standard, and African football's pretty good. I think this is probably meaning that you'll get countries in that would probably never play in a World Cup. My main concern with it is not necessarily the number of teams in it and stuff like that. My main concern is, I'm sorry, but 1 million private jets and flying across the world when the world really doesn't need that with climate change and the terrible things that are ensuing. So on that sense, when football constantly talks about we're trying to be green, we're trying to do the right things in terms of the scary nature of climate change, is to do something like that. I don't know how they can justify it. So that's a different perspective from the football thing. Having countries playing the World Cup it's different countries is probably a good thing. But anyway, here we go. James Hughes is a question. When did you all first meet each other, and what were your first impressions?
I'll let you two Herberts go first.
When did we first meet? Well, we first would have met Alan in the first England squad that you would have been called up to.
Yeah, so that was February 1992. Actually, today.
We didn't just meet today.
Back in 1992, I think, was the day I made my debut for England.
No way.
Today.
So it would have been
England, France.
England, France, yeah. I just saw it come up on my phone this morning.
In which you took my place because Graham Taylor wanted to have a little look at you before the Euros. You played the first half and scored. I came on in the second half and we played together and I scored.
Yep.
So we won 2-0 against Platini's team, who hadn't been beaten for about 30-odd matches. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was,
right.
yeah.
France.
I remember you coming into the dressing room and I'm thinking, God, there's a young man that in the future will no doubt in my mind whatsoever, will lose his hair.
And you were absolutely fucking spot on.
You know, you throw enough darts, eventually you'll hit a bullseye.
Oh, come on. Was there no animosity? Was it respect? Was it...
No. I can't.
Because it's strikers. Come on. Well, it's strikers.
We'd played against each other because Gaz was at Spurs. I was at Southampton. So we played against each other. And obviously he was England captain and England centre forward and scored all these goals. So, but that would have been the first time we actually would have met, wouldn't it? That England squad.
Yeah. And as captain, I would hope I would have respectfully welcomed him to the squad. Look at
You did just that. You did. And when the first time I met you, Micah, I thought you were an absolute dick.
You've told that story, haven't you, about when you came into the first match of the day when you were a bit like, ooh.
Yeah. I've told it before, haven't I?
That wasn't the first time we met, or was it? Was that the first time, Micah?
Well, I mean, we played that against each other for a couple of minutes, didn't we? But we didn't really meet. We would have come across each other. But it's always difficult because, as Gary calls it, the A team, and I've told the story before, so I won't go on. But it's because you two are legends of the game, aren't you? So for people coming into a work environment, and let's be honest, everyone else is all up your ass, aren't they? Absolutely. Everyone in that building. Alan, do you want this? Gary, no. Oh, don't sit there. That's Gary's chair. I was like, jeez. So it was a little bit overwhelming. But in fairness to you, you was both very nice and supportive. So I will give you that.
Oh, bless you. Bless you.
Very kind. Seriously, I thought you were a really nice guy, Michael Richards. And still are.
I thought, my God, he just got a loud laugh. He has got a loud laugh. One more question before we take a little break. Ben, hi guys. Ben from Brisbane here. In your opinion, who has been the best Aussie player in the Premier League? Cahill, Bosnich, Schwarzer, Viduka or Kuehl? And one for Alan, Robbie Slater.
Robbie Slater. Can you remember that? Can you remember Robbie Slater? He was at Blackburn. I think he went to West Ham after Blackburn. He actually won the league with us when we won it in 95. Really nice guy, actually, yeah. Robbie Slater. I told you about Viduka. I thought Viduka was a brilliant.
I don't know. I think I might go Tim Cahill because he was here quite a while and I thought he was consistently good goal scorer, really good player.
I would say growing up in Leeds, having seen Viduka and Kuehl, I think Kuehl probably had the most ability, but in terms of longevity, I'd probably say Cahill.
Do you know Harry Kuehl sued me?
What? No, we don't.
Really? Why?
Come on, elaborate.
Yeah. It's quite a while ago. I used to have a column in the Sunday Telegraph at the time, and it was about transfers, and I was talking about agents shouldn't be allowed to represent both parties in terms of the football clubs on both sides and the player himself, because I thought it was a conflict of interest. And I think he sued me over this because I called him naive for that, thinking that he'll, because his agent will be taking more out the deal than probably should have done, right? So it was obvious that his agent took the hump. So he sued me along with Harry Kewell. And then at the last minute, the agent jumped out of it and left Harry Kewell to sue me on his own. I was in court for 4 or 5 days giving evidence. It was ludicrous. And obviously it didn't transpire that he won the case. But it was like, I was thinking, I feel like a criminal in court here. All I've done is I'm naive. Honestly, it was so surreal. So surreal.
Did it cost you a few quid as well?
There was a jury. There was a jury.
There wasn't. Really?
Honestly.
Oh,
So go on, tell us what it was like. So you got called up.
It went on and on and on, and I just kept thinking, "Oh, this won't happen. This is madness. This is madness."
Did they say to say the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Nothing but the truth and all that. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
How on earth can that get all the way
idea.
to court? And I mean that the money that
waste.
Jesus.
It was nuts. I know.
Honestly, what a complete
I don't
waste.
know. I've never seen him since, but anyway, thankfully the jury have said not guilty. A question from Toby Young. What do you guys make of all the news around Dan Ashworth? Is he worth £20 million to Manchester United? It's an interesting story. Well, Alan, he's at your club at the moment.
Yep.
He's had quite a successful career in the area of kind of what would you call it? The directing of football clubs, director of football kind of role, hasn't he?
Well, he's had a really good career when you look at what he did at Brighton, what he did with England. I mean, Newcastle did that to Brighton in terms of they wanted him badly at the football club. He had to go on gardening leave at Brighton before he could then take over at Newcastle. But we're not naive enough to think that once someone goes on gardening leave, then they're not working for that other football club. My guess is that a compromise will be had. They'll pay a fee. How much that would be, I'm not quite sure. But he's done a really good job at Newcastle. But when you think of what he knows in terms of players' contracts, clauses in their contracts, who Newcastle might have to sell, who they want to buy, I mean, he's taking all that info, or he will take all that info with him to another football club. So yeah, it's a tough one, but it is what it is, isn't it? If you do well at your job, then someone's going to come in and try and poach you and nick you. And Man United obviously want the best at their football club now, and it seems as if that finance won't be an object. So I would imagine they'll do a deal with Newcastle at some stage, and then he'll leave. They're a huge football club, and they're going to go on to bigger and better things under this new ownership model that they've got. So yeah, it'll be sorted out one way or the other. He'll eventually leave, and Man United will pay a fee, and Newcastle will get someone else in to do that job.
Stephen Hesse. Picking up on a topic from a recent pod, I would like to reach out to Micah for advice for my 16-year-old son. He is an aspiring young player with high aspirations in the game. How does he burst onto the scene?
Hang on a minute, hang on. Someone's asking fucking Micah Richards for advice as a 16-year-old. Whoever you are, please, my advice is do not fucking listen to what Micah's about to say.
Wow, I feel privileged.
Come on, Micah. How do you burst onto the scene?
I mean, it's not for everyone. Not everyone can burst onto this. No, I mean, on a more serious note, I think I was lucky, wasn't I? Because I had everything going for me at the time. I got a look. Stop laughing!
Sorry, I had everything going for me.
Well,
I love that.
I had everything going for me. Right place, right time, working hard. I think the advice I would give is is don't burst off the scene like I did. But more importantly, I think there's a place, I've talked about it before, not to be all serious about it, but never think you're as good as you are. Keep going, keep driving, keep pushing, and stay bursting on the scene.
And maybe forget the Lamborghinis, forget the mansions, and forget the Vegas trips, and you might just be all right.
I'm not sure about that, though. It's worked all right for me. Well, I was about to show you something, but the camera said, don't do it. And the camera cut me off.
All right. Well, there you go.
Were you going to show the spiker?
I was indeed.
Yeah.
Oh, the car.
Of course I was.
It's all about.
Because it's on tracking.
Can we not see it?
We can do that now.
I don't want to touch the camera again because...
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
No,
It
we'll do it next
will
time.
follow it.
Yeah. On a slightly serious note, for any parent of a 16-year-old potential football player in the future, I would say at this point, just encourage your children to enjoy football. Don't get ahead of yourself. Don't get your expectations too high. It's extremely competitive, and the disappointments are there for so many, and only a tiny percentage of players will make it. But the best thing at that age is to enjoy your football, practice as hard as you possibly can, and give yourself the best possible chance.
Well said.
What wise words.
Right, we've got a question from Harry Producer, who wants to ask you something, Alan, and he's always been on his mind. So I'm going to just let him lean in to ask you this question.
Big Al, I've always wanted to know as a fan, you've got your coaching badges. What does that actually entail? What do you have to do to get all the badges?
I think if you've been in the game and played as a professional, you can start off from a certain level. If you're someone who hasn't been in the game and you want to be a coach, then I think I'm right in saying you have to start at a bit of a lower level. There's the C license, then the B license, then the A license, and then the Pro license. Then there's obviously other different courses that you have to go on. I mean, it's a long, drawn out process that takes a few years to get all of them through there. I mean, the one thing it doesn't give you is obviously the experience and dealing with so many different scenarios that you're about to face in terms of managing people or managing men or women or whatever it may be. And I suppose that's the acid test, is when you're given the opportunity or given the chance, is you're chucked so many things that you don't face in reality on your coaching badges. So that's basically essentially what it is.
Who was your assistant at the time?
At Newcastle?
Yes, at Newcastle when he was a manager.
I brought Ian Dowie in with me, but Chris Hughton was already there. Colin Calderwood was already there also. Yeah.
But can't you assign the things that you're obviously good at and the stuff on the nonsense and all the rest of the stuff that comes with it? Can't you assign them to do that bit and you focus solely on the football and your experience within the game?
Yeah, you can do. But I think when I went in 2009, that it was still, a lot of it was still down to the manager or the first team coach, whatever you wanted to in terms of making the bigger decisions. And that's the fascinating thing, is you have to make big decisions, every single day, whether that's meeting with a player to sort of problem out for a player or help a problem that a player's got. I said to you before, haven't I? It's what you wear or what you eat or what time you meet or whatever it is. All these, you've got to make all those different things every single day. Whereas a lot of that, I would think now, is taken over by someone else. But back in 2009, the manager still had to make most, if not all, of the decisions. Yeah.
Slightly back to Harry's question. When you're taking your badges, I've never done them. Do you have to put on
Yeah.
training sessions, do you have to do exams?
Yeah, you have to do exams.
Yeah.
You have to take sessions. You have to put. You're always being monitored. You have to have so many hours on the training pitch. What are you laughing at? Are you laughing at thinking of me
Chuckling
doing
away there in the
exams?
background.
Just imagine you sat down there doing an exam. I just can't picture it.
Look at fucking Einstein there. Look. Yes, Gary, you're taking exams. You're hours on the training field.
Do you sometimes? I mean, you must go there, and then perhaps the first people at the lower levels of your badges that you get someone coming who has to guide you and be your boss, and they must spout some nonsense sometimes.
Yeah, I mean it is difficult when you're going at the early level. It's like you've got these so many basic things, and you think to yourself, "Really, is this what obviously?" Yeah, but you've just got to go along with it and get the boxes ticked and do what you have to do. And then the higher you're getting, then the more you're into the sort of the training sessions and what have you. Actually, I did my A license in Scotland, and David Moyes was one of my mentors, with him being involved in the Scottish FA, and he was brilliant. He's such a nice guy, David Moyes, and the way he sort of helped the whole class and the whole group get to where they wanted to get to.
Fantastic stuff. Micah, have you ever done your badges?
No.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
No. Right, last question, chaps, from Brad Henderson. It's a question more to Alan and Gary. He says, sorry, Micah, but could you tell me your favourite story about the amazing Sir Bobby Robson?
Well, how many are we told? There's so many good ones. Go on, you got any more good ones about him, Gaz?
I think there's one I've not told about the semi-final of the World Cup when we're playing West Germany then. And in 1990, and they were going really well and in the competition, and we were obviously second favourites, but we played really well in the game. They scored, I equalised, goes to extra time, goes to penalties. We all know that. And at the end of the final whistle, we were in this all kind of huddled around the middle. Who's going to take the penalties? Now, we kind of pre-planned it a little bit, who's going to take them. But Gaza, because of what happened to him with the yellow card, and he wouldn't be able to play in the final if we'd managed to win, he wasn't quite in the right place to take one. So we ended up with the 4 volunteers and Chris Waddle, who was brought in, who'd never really taken a penalty, I don't think, in his life. Certainly not in a major competition. So there we were, and we went to the centre circle, as you do, and Bobby Robson got the 5 of us all in a little huddle. And this classic Bobby, he said, lads, don't let me down. He said, there are 30 million people watching this back home. Me and Beardsley burst into laughter. Oh, we just thought, oh, God.
So if you weren't shitting yourself, you were by then.
I know. 30 million people watching this back home. It didn't work.
Don't let me down. That's brilliant. Typical Bobby.
It was, yeah. So that was my favourite. You, Alan? You got one?
Brilliant. Oh, there's so many. I mean, you're on about, I don't know, I think the management side of things. We had a meeting once with Bobby, and he always called meetings. It was about 10 o'clock, and Craig Bellamy wasn't there. He was late. And in front of the whole group, other than Craig, he was like, I'll show that little shit. How dare you be late? You cannot be late. How do you... It's disrespectful to the rest of the team. And 5 minutes later, Craig Bellamy walked in. Morning, son. Where have you been? It's like, I'll show him. He said, he comes in, he goes, morning, son. Where have you been? It's like, yeah, really?
It's the loveliest bloke. And we miss him. We miss him. Rest in peace, Sir Bobby. That's it from our question and answer episode. Thank you very much for sending in your questions as ever. But that's it for now. We'll be back at the end of the week with an interview where we'll be joined by Conor Cody. So join us for that. But for now, goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.